Good Thursday morning. I'm your friend Scotty Ray. How are you today? With a fair sky, it's 49 as we start this morning. We'll climb to high 83-ish is what we're looking for. So a nice weather day in store for us. But I do urge you to do this. If you've got anything that needs to be done outside over the next week, do it today. This will be your last chance of a sunshiny day. Rain moves into the forecast tomorrow, and there's chances every day all the way through next Wednesday. So it's there. Don't forget about that. Now, as we mentioned that, tomorrow we do have a chance of severe weather from roughly 10 a.m. until 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 7 p.m. Let me back that up, 10 until 7. Let's look at Meridian Honda radar to show you exactly what we've got for tomorrow. This stretches from Biloxi all the way clear across the state of Mississippi. Only on the eastern side are there some counties not missing it. Most of Lauderdale County will have this, and most of Clark County, all of Wayne. Let's turn on these locations and take a little bit closer look of what is forecasted, where the line is. This will cut across right in Clark County, right around where Shady Grove Baptist Church is, travel north, taking in Energy, and everything east of Energy, not in that level 1, but again, it's close. Right up to the Boy Scouts, right across Tom Bailey Lake, and through Lauderdale, Mississippi, northward, right through Wahala, if you'll see that. That's where that level 1 lies, and the rest of the entire state is in that. Now, east into Alabama, y'all are going to be okay. We look to our west, it could be worse, as we see out here in this area here around San Antonio, Waco. They're going to have a level 2 tomorrow. That's, again, for tomorrow, not here. So we've got our blessings that we can be counted for. Again, a perfect day today. We've got the complete forecast up and coming to let you know. Don't forget the morning show gets underway at 7. We'll tell you which star we lost from MASH. Another main character, or character rather, has passed away that used to be on MASH. We'll talk about that this morning. We got some special guests coming in to tell us all about Collinsville Day. Also, Dr. Alan Brown will drop by. They have a big meeting downtown that you'll want to know about over the weekend down at Soule. We'll find out more about that coming up. Right now, let's go to Collinsville. It's Thursday. Let's get a good word. Let's head out and see what they've got to tell us today.
One of my favorite moments in the final hours of Jesus' life is lit for judgment. In this account, there are really two things that are so clearly demonstrated, one by Jesus and the other by Pilate. So first, let's consider the actions of Jesus. As he stands there, he is accused at length with many acts of sin and wrongdoing and even blasphemy by the Jewish religious leaders. And his response is incredible. As they hurl their accusations, Jesus remains completely silent, refusing to answer a single charge. Not only was he innocent, but he wouldn't even give credence to their words by dignifying them with an answer. He was focused on his mission, undeterred by their actions, and he would not say a word in his own defense, lest Pilate be swayed to release him because of his innocence. He was there to take the place of sinners on the cross as God had willed, and he was going to succeed. Secondly, let's consider Pilate. He was obviously under the impression that he possessed the power in this situation. He even told Jesus that he had power to either crucify him or to release him. But Pilate failed to understand who was really in control. Even though Jesus told him that he had no power other than what God the Father had given him, but despite his position and the decision that stood before him, Pilate feared the people who wanted Jesus dead, and even though he found no fault in Jesus, he was afraid that if he released him, the people would riot and he might lose his position as governor of Judea. So instead of doing what was right, he gave in to the sinful demands of the people and delivered an innocent man over to be crucified. And in doing so, he failed to uphold his responsibility to protect the innocent, which was his mandate as an officer of Rome. When you consider these two men, Pilate and Jesus, it should be obvious that we need to be like Jesus, focused on the gospel mission, undeterred by the actions of others, and in control of our words, aware of the impact they have on our witness. And we need to be the opposite of Pilate, aware of our position as children of God, in submission to the authorities over us, especially the authority of Jesus Christ, and willing to pay the price to do what's right. Can you live like that? Jesus certainly did. Change begins in you.
The Change Begins in You is brought to you in part by Piggly Wiggly of Collinsville, Patrick Allen Companies, Mitchell Tire and Wrecker in Collinsville, and Mowdy Cabinetry. And don't forget, they'll be having church services beginning Sunday morning. If you hadn't got a church, drop by, see Brother Ben. Friendly bunch of folks there in Collinsville. You can't miss it. As we said, we'll find out about what's going on in Collinsville this morning during the morning show. A little after 7, join us. We've got the fire department, the volunteer fire department. Salute's going to be joining us. Tony and the gang. Make sure to be here a little after 7. As we look around the headlines of what's happening to America, we always take for granted that, hunting and fishing will always be there for us, don't it? Believe it or not, there's folks across America that really don't want you to have that right. They look at it as being bad. Worries me. Florida took a step to fight this effort last Friday as the legislature passed overwhelmingly a resolution that would make it a constitutional right to hunt and fish in the state of Florida. Let's do hope that the rest of the states follow suit with it. And Mississippi may have already done that. I'm unsure. But Florida doing that as moves start to try to, interrupt that, where you couldn't do that. And again, you can talk to game wardens and find out more about this, but there's a reason hunting is allowed. It also thins herds. It helps everything on top of it. And it feeds folks. It's been happening since, the day of time. But there's folks that don't want you to do that. As we look at this, I always look to California and other places of America to see what's going on. They've got a mess out there when it comes to the financial institution. Another bank called PacWest shares have plunged 50%. They got a big problem out there as you look at this. They've loaned too much money, and a lot of these loans, the way it worked was it was interest only, which means that they weren't getting back any of their principal, and banks are falling over this. As we watch America, our next headline, and we're only beginning to see the troubles of what is coming with boys can play basketball, boys can be anything that a woman does and identifies that. As we see fights in locker rooms break out now between people who are identifying as a woman who really is a man in a girl's locker room. They're bigger, they're stronger, and that's just a simple fact of life. You can't change that. America has problems coming as the rest of the world prepares and defends themselves. We're fighting over who we are or what we think we are. It's a sad day. Y'all make notes on all of this is what happens. As we look to this kind of follows the same guidelines that the U.S. Navy SEALs, one of the toughest bunches in the whole wide world, the greatest. They send those guys in, one of the first ones. As they say, it's a crying shame. It's a disgrace as the U.S. Navy has a new influencer that is just like that other guy that we saw in the news a few weeks ago that was a man 1 minute, a woman by night. The Navy, again, that's the U.S. government. I wouldn't think the government would do that's a mistake, isn't it, for assuming anything with that. Read up about that, though. It's everywhere. You can find those stories. The guy that is really pushing is this guy that took out bin Laden. You remember him? He was a Navy SEAL. Drag queens representing the U.S. Navy as influencers to get people to join the Navy. Now, I've never done this. When I quit smoking, I quit cold turkey. I didn't use patches. I got hooked on it. I'm not going to lie to you. When I worked radio, that overnight shift to try to keep awake, coffee and cigarettes, it worked. Finally, I gave it up after some 20-something years. And now they're saying this new thing, the e-cigarettes, the vape thing, the fruity things. They say if they would cut out the fruity things, it would cut 70% of teenagers wanting it, that they don't like the tobacco taste. I doubt that will ever happen because there's way too much money being made off of that at this point. We'll be right back with a look at your forecast. All that is next as we start this Wednesday together here.
Hello, my name's Kenneth Graham, and I'm running for coroner of Lauderdale County. For over 50 years, Lauderdale County's been represented by professional and competent coroners. I would like to continue that tradition. Over the next several months, I want to educate the public on what the coroner does and dispel any myths about the coroner job. I can show you that I will be the most professional coroner there is. So please vote for me August the 8th.
Paid for by the Committee for the Election of Kenneth Graham. All right, the studio audience in here, mainly let's go to camera 3 over this direction and Odie over to the right there, claiming that I got the day wrong. And I did. It's Thursday. Whoops. Good Thursday morning. Let me correct myself. I don't know where that come from. You ever just have something come out your mouth?
Yeah, I told you it's the fastest.
It is the fastest show.
So,
And I will never forget one time I was doing weather. It was a severe thing, and somebody walked in. And you know, I'm just real basic on my talking. I never go in these fads that people talk, and they refer to their houses. I went home to my crib, and the next thing you know, I'm doing weather, and I said, if you live here and your crib is there, and it just come out of nowhere, watch who you hang around. They influence you. It does. You'll start repeating things that you hear. Be careful. Let's get into your forecast now, brought to you by our good friends at the EMEPA.
Your forecast is brought to you by EMEPA, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
As we go back and look at our record highs, record lows, 1959, it was 91. Back in 13, we had a cool 38 degrees on this morning. Now, today, sitting in at 49 outside, has that little nip, but a great morning for a walk. Gets that cool in your lungs. You feel great. Try it sometime. Let's see what else happened today. Today, we're expecting 83 across this. Now, as you go up 19 and you make your way up 15 toward Louisville and those areas, it's going to get a little bit cooler as you get near Mississippi State, Columbus Air Force Base at 80 degrees. Down south, 86, 85 over in Natchez, where all those beautiful trees are. As we look to Alabama, 79 there on the river in Demopolis. Over in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, looks to be 79, even a little cooler at 78 there in Birmingham. Now, our outlook as we look at this, severe weather expected from 10 a.m. tomorrow to 7 p.m. So if you had something planned for the weekend, you're probably going to get wet, but it won't be horrible weather after 7 p.m. We've got rain in the forecast. We'll look at your 7-day forecast a long ways out. But again, severe weather, and what we're going to get out of this is possible storms, damaging wind gusts, and the main threat being quarter-size hail. Never can rule out a tornadic activity, but it's not at the top of the list. Again, gusty winds and hail are going to be what we would expect tomorrow there. And eastern Lauderdale County doesn't have that big of a chance out at Why Not Motor Sports Park. As we look to the forecast, as we look across, what's that orange stuff? Temperatures are heating up into the 80s, cooler out in California as we start to see Texas heating, making its way across the deep south. Even a little bit more above here in eastern Florida. Look at that, near the Carolinas, Georgia. Now, as we look at the 7-day forecast, here's what we've got, 83 today and tomorrow. But that rain chance jumps up to 60% tomorrow with that, severe thunderstorm chances. As we move into Saturday, 40% chance, and even on into Sunday, church day, 40%. And back to work, you better find you an umbrella if you don't own one. Keep one handy, 50% chance Monday and Tuesday. Still in the forecast on Wednesday, but we're steady. Look at this, upper 80s here. Right at that 90-degree mark there next Tuesday. Now, another 7 days into the month. Let's go ahead and look at this as we go to May 18th. Whew, what's that, the 11th? The 90 mark. Changing things, isn't it? We'll remain in the 80s all the way through the 18th with rain chances, as you see, each day. So there are going to be some chances of sunshine. So it won't be quite as bad as you think. Sometimes it's just a little drop. We'll keep it at that. Fishing forecast for today as we head out to Chet's. Chet tells us today, 11:30, play hooky from work. Stay there to about 1:30 and get you a piece of straw to chew on. It'll be good. Great fishing with Chet's Paint and Body. That's the outlook of what we've got. Already, 15 minutes, Odie, before we start? Odie's ready there. He's got his Hawaiian shirt on today.
the heat, the temperature.
You're already thinking about vacation is what he's up to over there. The boy's got it in his frame of mind. We've got all of this and so much going on about what went on in the last 24 hours in our little city, across the nation, across the state, and all these areas. We're going to tap into all of this, let you know what you need to start your day. It begins right here, 7 o'clock, and it is Thursday. Let me back up. And if you heard me say Wednesday earlier, whoops, the Scotty Ray Department of Corrections. We'll see you soon as we kick this day off. A good morning to, what is that, Joni? Good to see you. Also, Jean. We also have Sandra up. So many more joining us. Be a part of it. Begins at 7 o'clock, Fox 30 on TV, right here, Facebook, and also on YouTube. We'll see you then.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners.